Hi. Welcome to Live Spirit Chat. Thanks for being here. If you haven't participated in Live Spirit Chat before, this is a chance for you to take part in a group teaching session and get your questions answered about developing your spiritual path, developing your spiritual connection, your spiritual practice, your psychic abilities, your intuition, and all kinds of things related and in between, including working with your spirit guides, practicing magic, meditation, dream work, working with your ancestors, and so on and so forth. Hi, thanks for being here. So for Live Spirit Chat, I typically take questions in advance. And after settling in here for a moment, I'm going to jump right into those questions. Greetings from Kentucky. I love Kentucky. It's really pretty there. There's a lot of beautiful nature. I'm not sorry that the lighting is so crazy on Instagram. It's always hard to kind of get it right because I'm also on the laptop. I'm also on the computer live on YouTube. So the lighting with the computer is completely different as compared to how the lighting with the phone works. So typically I look kind of crazy on Instagram and kind of okay on YouTube. So my announcements for this week. Obviously, no in-person events, no local events. Hi, Yadi. Nice to see you here. I reached 10K followers. Finally, on Instagram, I reached 10K followers. So that's my first special announcement. Super happy about that. Also, super thankful, very grateful for all of you who joined me last week on Saturday for the live private tarot party, which celebrated my 5-year anniversary as owner and operator of Miss Melinda's Metaphysical Services. I was so humbled and so grateful and so impressed by the beautiful group of women who joined me there to celebrate, to participate in the party, and to receive free readings. Just what a beautiful group of people. What a beautiful group of women, and all working so hard on their own spiritual growth, on their own spiritual development, working so hard on their life's path, working so hard on their own endeavors. Just, I'm so impressed and I'm so grateful. I'm so happy and grateful and humbled. So thank you if you were there. You know who you are. Other announcements that I have, I'm still working on the free version of the Mystic course. And my Mystic course is to assist you with developing your intuition and your psychic abilities. And it's a really powerful course. It comes with some amazing meditations. It has video content. It has written content. It's a really great course offering a lot of in-depth information to introduce you to what your intuition is and to introduce you to how to deepen that and how to tap into your psychic abilities using your intuition as the gateway to those deeper psychic abilities. It's a free course. The Mystic course is a free course that you will have the opportunity to receive when you are signed up for my newsletter. There's a link to sign up for my newsletter below the videos on YouTube and in my bio link on Instagram. So I am in the process of putting together that Mystic course, putting the final touches on it, and scheduling the launch that is coming. It's going to be a beautiful free resource for you. putting the final touches on our grief workshop, which happens through Mystic Membership. Mystic Membership is our Patreon community where I offer teaching and coaching and readings and group spiritual services and all kinds of things. Mystic Membership is a great way to receive ongoing spiritual support at a very affordable price, and it's a great way to receive teaching and coaching at a very affordable price and to have a chance to interact with me and pretty intimately, pretty closely, and to learn. So putting the final touches on the grief workshop there. It seems like I had another announcement. Perhaps it will come to me later. So I'm going to go ahead and dig into your questions. Yes, my other announcement has come back to me. My other announcement is that many of you have inquired about the guided meditations and the prayer sessions that we have done live recently via Instagram mostly. Whenever I tried to perform those on YouTube, the YouTube connection wasn't working well. So those mostly took place via Instagram, live prayer sessions and group meditations. A few people have inquired, especially Mystic members have inquired about the potential to have saved versions of those guided meditations. So one of the things that I'm going to be working on today are guided meditations that are going to be on IGTV so that you can have permanent access to them. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to put those on YouTube as well, but you will have access to them on IGTV. And I will link that to the Mystic membership as well. For those of you who don't have Instagram, I'll link the saved versions of the guided meditations to Mystic membership. So you can look forward to several guided meditations coming out very soon. They're going to be free. They're going to be easy to access, and they're going to cover a wide variety of topics that are very pertinent to us now, like relieving anxiety, centering and grounding, energetic shielding, protection, things of this nature. So those are coming. I'm going to begin working on them today, and I'm excited to do so. Hi, JC Moji. Thanks for seeing you here. And speaking of free resources, I've recently put a lot of time and energy into compiling free resources for you. Mainly, they're all over. They're all kinds of different places and all kinds of different free resources, but I've compiled them. So on my Instagram highlights and in the Instagram bio link, you can find access to many different free resources to help you study, to help you meditate, to help you learn, to help you practice through these times. Let's jump into some questions. If you haven't been here before, and I do think that I see some new faces, Live Spirit Chat is a chance to participate in a live free group teaching session and get your questions answered about developing your spiritual path, developing your spiritual practice, developing your spiritual connection, your psychic abilities, your intuition, all kinds of things in between, like practicing magic and tarot and divination and working with ancestors and spirit guides. So I take early bird questions, meaning that I allow people to submit questions early through Instagram, and I'll address those first, but there's typically time at the end to address live questions as well. So if you have some questions that you would like to get answered, you can feel free to put those out there now, and then when the time is appropriate, I will get to them, and I am happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Yeah, so people are commenting about the time of Live Spirit Chat. It's always on Saturdays now. Live Spirit Chat is on Saturdays at 12 noon United States Central Standard Time. Saturdays on Instagram and YouTube. That is the new time and permanent whatever permanent means. Permanent as of now. Permanent until further notice. Let's see if I can get to these questions. First question, how do I know if numbers in my dreams are significant and what to do about them? The the first answer that I have is the answer that I give so many times for so many questions. You know by using your intuition. So there are other ways to look at this this situation as well, or to look at these numbers. The way that you can apply your intuition to your dreams in this particular instance is by assessing what was going on in my dream when these numbers appeared. What is the feeling that I have about this dream? Is there anything special that sticks out about this dream to me? Is it uncommon for me to remember my dreams? And if I do remember this dream, is it uncommon for me to remember these numbers or to see these numbers? So you have to ask yourself those kinds of questions. How did I feel when I woke up from this dream? What is the emotion? What is the energetic content of the dream? What is it communicating to me through my intuition in whatever way my intuition works, right? So the first thing you need to know is how your intuition works and what is kind of like your history of your intuition with your dreams. And in general, know how your intuition usually communicates to you, and think back to when you have had the strongest intuitive signs. And is your experience with your dream similar? Or do you often have dreams that are significant? Have you often received messages through your dreams? These kinds of things will tell you if those numbers appearing in your dream are significant. The next thing that I would do, I wouldn't assume that the numbers are going to apply to anything specific or anything literal in your life or in everyday life. Instead, I would assume that those numbers are carrying a symbolic meaning or a spiritual meaning, right? So they're symbolizing something else. So I would do some studying with numerology and determine, what do these numbers mean to me? What could be the message that they're carrying? If you're seeing them in your dreams, there probably is some kind of message associated there, especially if you're the kind of person who often receives messages in your dreams or often has dreams that have a spiritual content, right? So check in with the numerology and see what the message is there. But I wouldn't assume that the numbers, apply to something literal in life. Hi, Praja or Praji 1979. Nice to see you. Hi, Busy Bee Alchemy. Nice to see you. Okay. Why is it offensive to spiritual people when someone tells them that they want to practice? So there's more context behind this question. We actually had a small private chat about this question as well. So just so you know that my answer is based upon more context than just this question that we're seeing here. So this is a multifaceted situation. This is a multifaceted topic to look at. So I will try to present to you some different viewpoints. Let me say that I have had the experience personally that people look at what I'm doing and they assume that it's easy. They look at what I'm doing and they think that it is an easy way to make a quick dollar. I've had people very insultingly look at what I'm doing and assume that I don't have to work very hard. Look at what I'm doing and assume that it's a way to quickly make some money or quickly open a business. I've had people say, "Oh, I'm interested in cards too." And then, pick up one or two books, practice reading the cards for a few months, and then start trying to do it professionally, just as an example. So the thing is, if you have a calling to this kind of work, typically this has been something that you've known you have a calling to for most of your life. I've dedicated my whole life to this work. This is something I've been interested in, that I've been studying about, that I've been learning about, that I've been practicing since a very young age. Hi, nice to see you. So when people come in and it appears that they are following a trend or following a fad, or that they have decided they want to do what you do because they think that it looks cool, or they think that it looks glamorous, or they think that they're going to make a quick, easy dollar, or that it's just a hobby for them, or that they think that it's an easy side hustle and that they can quickly open a business and be successful. This is very insulting. This is very insulting to somebody who has dedicated their lives to it, somebody who has a calling, somebody who has made sacrifices in order to do this. When you have a spiritual calling, there are a lot of things. So there's a typical like life pattern that plays out with people who have a spiritual calling or people who are healers. And one of those life patterns is that you've been through many difficult challenges. You've been through many difficult times. You have learned to be a healer because you have had to heal yourself, and you've had to heal yourself through great pain, through great trauma, through great challenges. I speak from experience. So that's one aspect of it. Like, when you have this calling, it is not an easy thing. It is something that your whole life has conspired to bring you to. You have had to go through trials. You've had to go through tribulations. You've had to go through tests. You've had to learn how to heal yourself. You learn these things by experiencing them. You don't learn them by reading a book or simply getting teaching or coaching from somebody else, or watching what other people do and then trying to emulate them. You learn this through personal experience. Not that teaching and coaching helps. Teaching and coaching is significant. It helps to have a mentor. But when you have a true calling to this kind of work, there are other things that also happen in your life and other things that happen behind the scenes. And in addition to those things, in addition to that life path, that path of a wounded healer that you go through, that journey of death and reawakening, that is an initiation that life puts you through. So when you have a calling for this kind of work, life puts you through an initiation of death and rebirth. Okay, so in addition to those things, you also have to have the dedication yourself to take initiative, to learn, to be consistent, to put in the work for your spiritual growth, to put in the work for your self-growth, and then to put in the work for the knowledge and the expertise and the practice and the experience that you need to help others. This is something that takes years, right? So when you see other people that pop up and say, oh, I'm interested in this, I think that I'll do it, it can be very insulting. It can be hurtful because people assume that your life is easy. They assume that what you do is easy. They assume that if they see you doing it, then they can just do it tomorrow, right? So oftentimes people don't realize that I've spent years studying, that I've dedicated my life to this, and then let's look at this from the other perspective too. So I've been doing this professionally for 5 years, right? There are people that have been doing this professionally for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years, for 40 years. Of course, there are people that looked at me when I became professional, when I went public as a professional practitioner, that were like, who are you? So there's two sides to the coin. You can't judge people who are just starting and assume that just because they're beginning that they don't know anything, or they haven't been through anything, or they haven't put in the time or the dedication or the work and the effort, right? So there's that side of it too. I would never look at somebody else and say, because you're new, you shouldn't be doing this. That's not the kind of attitude that I promote. I definitely promote supporting one another and helping others and encouraging others. But I have definitely had very insulting experiences where people assume that what I do is very easy, that it's very simple, that it can be quick money, that it's a good business venture, so on and so forth. The other aspect of this is the business aspect of it. Hi, Kimberly. Nice to see you. This is not this is not an easy kind of business to run. It takes it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of dedication. So in addition to the spiritual hard work, in addition to the self-growth, in addition to the learning and training there, and in addition to the life path that you are on when you have a calling to be a healer, there's also the business aspect of it. It may appear on the surface that we just post on Instagram or go live on YouTube and then, we have clients. I don't know many people who would work 7 days a week for 2 or 3 years. I don't know many people who would work 4 jobs at a time. These are just some of the sacrifices that I have made to run this business and to grow this business and to make this business successful. So it can be insulting on many levels when people assume that this is something that they can just pick up, right? And it's a tricky situation because it's not like being a doctor where you have to prove that you have become accredited, that you've gone through the training, that you've put in the time and dedication, that you have, participated in case studies, that you've done the pro bono work, that you've done the community work. So a lot of this kind of a lot of this in this field, in my career, is on the honor system, right? So that gets tricky because not everybody who comes into it has put in that time, has put in that dedication, has gone about it in that way, right? So there are many ways that it can be insulting to somebody who has dedicated their life to this. When new people come in and they seem flippant, or they seem disrespectful, or they seem like they think that it's easy. So I hope that answers some of your question, and I would be happy to discuss that more if you have other facets to that question or other nuances or other questions. Okay. Thank you, Kimberly. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Let's see what else we have here in our questions. Does your heart chakra have to be fully healed to be a clear vessel for mediumship? So let's talk a little bit about the chakras. There are a lot of misconceptions about the chakras. So when people, when information about the chakra systems gets watered down, it may appear that if you have a blockage in your chakra, then you clear that blockage and you open your chakras, and then they're always clear and open. But your chakra system is a part of an energy system that makes up the energy of your entire being, that makes up the energy that flows through you and surrounds you. Just like your moods are going to change, just like your health is going to change, just like your mental and emotional state is going to change, the energy in your chakras is going to change. So it's never a final thing. It's never like you clear and cleanse your chakras and then they're cleansed and cleared and you never have to do it again. It takes maintenance, just like your health takes maintenance, and it'll ebb and flow on its own, just like your health will ebb and flow on its own, or your emotional state will ebb and flow on its own. Hi, Bougie Hillbilly. I haven't seen you in forever. Thanks for being here. So your chakras are going to have a natural rhythm to themselves that are kind of working in harmony with the rest of your natural rhythm, with the rest of the energy in the body, and the energy surrounding your body and the energy in your spirit, right? So So the answer is no. Your chakra does not have to be fully cleared and healed in order to be a clear vessel for mediumship. Your heart chakra does not have to be fully cleared and healed. You can never really do that. What I'm saying is that the chakra work that you do is never permanent. It's like everything else that you do to take care of yourself. It's never really permanent. It always takes maintenance work. It always takes dedication and consistency. And I also don't feel a huge direct connection between your heart chakra and mediumship, to be quite honest. I would associate it more with your crown chakra. Not to say that, I mean, all of your chakras are going to influence and affect your spiritual work, especially depending upon your belief system. Not everybody's going to use chakra work for their spiritual work. I've taught it a lot and talked about it a lot because this is something that has really worked for me, and it's something that I feel helps people develop a lot more quickly in terms of spiritual connection, psychic connection, and intuition. But it's not the only way to approach things. It's just something that has worked really well for me. So I teach it to other people because I find it to be a way to really speed up this development and to strengthen very powerfully. Okay, I'm having a little glitch with the questions. Here we go. What is one step that I might do to strengthen clairaudience? All right, I've got something for you. So, for clairaudience, there are these receptors in your brain that are just above your ears, and they're closer to the surface of your head, the surface of your skull. And when you have some time, if you even just gently focus your consciousness or your attention first on your ears, and then allow yourself to shift your focus upward, just above your ears. And I feel it about right here. So there's a little indentation there as well. It's kind of above you where your cheekbone ends and below your temple. It's right in here. So one quick step that you might do, or one simple thing that you can do to begin to strengthen your clairaudience, is to spend time gently shifting your focus from your ears to this receptor. And what this is the receptor in your brain that allows you to process thoughts as a hearing sensation. So it allows you to hear your thoughts. It's the part of your brain that processes your thoughts as audio. This is the receptor that is related to clairaudience. So you can plant the seed in the back of your head now that you're going to work on this whenever you remember to. And then as you're going about your day, as you're going about your world, walking about your life, whenever you remember to, just pause for a minute and gently shift the focus from your ear to this hearing receptor here. And you can feel it immediately. You can feel a sensation here, and you can feel when your awareness shifts from one place to another. And just begin to tune into that place and begin to align more with that place and begin to sit with your consciousness here and focus on how you hear things, how you hear your thoughts differently when you're hearing from here instead of from here. How do you hear the world around you? How do you hear your thoughts differently? So on and so forth. You could take that a step further. And when you sit down to talk to your guides or talk to your ancestors or whoever it may be, your angels, I don't know, whoever you work with, when you sit down to ask for guidance, make a conscious effort to first shift your hearing from here to here, and then sit quietly and wait for the guidance to come to you and see what happens. And, something might not happen at first, but you will feel a sensation here when you shift your focus. That should happen. And you just keep practicing it. Just stay consistent with that and see how the way that you hear your thoughts and the way that you hear guidance begins to change. You can also practice that in a public place or as you're going about the world. Just practice listening in a different way, right? Practice listening from here and see what kinds of things you could pick up on that you don't usually pick up on. And if you stay consistent with that, you will begin to develop your clairaudience much more strongly. And then I have a book recommendation. You Are Psychic. It is The Free Soul Method by Pete A. Sanders Jr. He has a great section on developing clairaudience. I highly, highly recommend this book. It has a section on developing all of the clairs, all types of psychic abilities. Very, very highly recommended. You're welcome. Yes, I do offer channeling services. You can find me on MissMelinda's or you can contact me via email. I hope I typed it correctly. I'm going to type my email address as well. I'm not going to name all of the books that I recommend for developing clairaudience at this moment, but I can tell you that if you go to the link in my Instagram bio, you will see a link for book recommendations. And if you go to the highlights on Instagram, you're going to see a whole section of book recommendations. That's part of the free resources that I've recently spent a lot of time compiling. So you can find book recommendations. Hi, Anario, nice to see you. Welcome. All right. Do I have a homemade tonic that I use for immunity? Yeah. Hi, Joanna. Nice to see you. So a couple of things to say about this. First thing, I'm not a doctor. Second thing, always check with your medical professional or a trained herbalist before you use home remedies, because some of them can have influences on pre-existing health conditions. So the tonics that I use for strengthening my immune system, one, you can use four thieves vinegar. Definitely, you can take that orally. You can also take apple cider vinegar orally. But right now, what I'm using is not necessarily a homemade tonic. It is a high concentration of zinc, liquid zinc. And it is extremely powerful for your immune system. It tastes terrible, to be quite honest. Horrible, worst taste ever. I actually suck on lemon after I take the liquid zinc because it's like the worst taste ever in your mouth. And it also can be very agitating to your stomach. So you have to take it on a full stomach after you've eaten. But I highly recommend that. Another thing that I've used quite frequently for my immune system is ashwagandha tincture. You have to be careful with that. Just like I was saying before, know what your pre-existing medical conditions are and check with somebody if you need to, because I'm not a healthcare professional. But one thing that I know you have to be careful about with ashwagandha is that it will affect your thyroid, especially if you have any tendencies towards thyroid disorder. So be careful of that. But ashwagandha is extremely powerful for your immune system as well. Now, you wouldn't need to take ashwagandha and zinc at once. These are things that can be heavy for your liver to process. So when you're taking things that are highly concentrated and highly powerful like this, you really only need to take one at a time. But those are my recommendations for strengthening your immune system. Also, just eat well. Eat lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, um, and eat garlic. Eat garlic and ginger, things of this nature. Hey, metaphysical. I don't know what they're saying. I know this might sound crazy because we don't know each other. Okay. And then, oops, wrong thingy. I like your feed. Thank you. I'm just trying to get to the next question. Oh no, I accidentally X'd that one out and I haven't answered it. How do I get myself to open up to my spirit guides? It's a good question. What I'm getting from your question is that you may be approaching this as something that you have to force yourself or make yourself do. And that has a different kind of energy as opposed to like being receptive. So, one of the most important things that people can do in order to connect with their spirit guides is to work on being receptive, to work on allowing them to reach you. It's not as if they are some far out being that you have to reach out and grab, or that you have to put in all of this like external effort into reaching or connecting with. It's more like they're here already, they're with you, and they want to reach you. They're open to you. It's their job, in fact, to reach you. It's beneficial to them to reach you. So it's more about training and tuning yourself to be open and receptive to them. And one of the ways that you can do that is by working on your intuition. So this is like, here's the first two things that I'm going to say for almost everything and anything. Start a meditation practice. If you haven't already, you probably have. Amp that meditation practice up if you're trying to take this spirit guide communication or connection to the next level, really amp that up. And then the second thing is work on your intuition. So what do I mean by working on your intuition? Start by being very mindful. Mindfulness practice in the moment. Be mindful of your thoughts, mindful of your feelings, mindful of your physical sensations. Through that, you will begin to see how your intuition works for you specifically as an individual. How does it come to you? Is it coming to you as a voice in the back of your head? Is it coming to you through physical sensations in your body? Is it coming to you through emotional sensations, through emotional energies? Is it coming to you through visions? So on and so forth. The first way that your intuition is most powerful for you is going to be the first way that your spirit guides are going to reach you as well. So many times people get lost in the idea that your spirit guide should reach you in a very specific way or should communicate with you in a very specific way. For example, they're looking to see their spirit guide when in fact their main psychic gift is not clairvoyance. For instance, they could be looking to hear their spirit guide when their main psychic connection is not necessarily clairaudience. So the first most important thing is to really get in tune with your intuition and the specific way that it works for you, and to start honing in on that, start connecting with that more. However your gifts work for you is the way that your spirit guide is going to connect to you. And then the other aspect of it, as I mentioned, is to work on being receptive, to work on being open and receptive. You don't have to reach out to them. You have to allow them to reach into you. So do some meditations and some energy work surrounding these concepts that I have brought up, and that's going to help you get closer. Are we supposed to put offerings, water, food, and candles for each ancestor, or is it one for all of them? So let's think about this. We all have thousands or more ancestors, right? How can we can't even possibly know who they all are. So yeah, it's very acceptable and recommended that you just put offerings out for your ancestors as a group, as a whole. You're not necessarily trying to reach each and every one of them anyway. You're just offering them honor as a group. You're offering honor for your family heritage, your family lineage, and for everything that they've done before you, and for everything that they've passed on to you, right? And then but one of the main goals of this is that eventually you make connection with a primary guide, like one or two primary ancestor guides. So it isn't until you make connection with one or two primary ancestor guides that you will begin to put out specific offerings for those specific ancestors. After you've made that connection and you've developed that relationship, and you know that it's a connection and a relationship that you can trust and that you want to strengthen and that you want to continue developing, right? So yeah, put your offerings out for your ancestors as a whole, and then wait until you develop a relationship with a specific ancestor or two or three specific ancestors, and then you can put specific offerings for those individuals. But you may want to still honor the ancestors as a whole, even after you have made those connections with specific individuals. I have a whole series on YouTube about working with your ancestors. And it's actually for working with your ancestors from scratch. So everything that you need to know from the basics up, and it's from a universalist perspective. So anyone with any belief system or any religion can use these techniques and use this information in order to build your relationship with your ancestors from scratch. So go ahead and check that out on YouTube. The only other things in my questions are promotions. Okay, so we're ready to take some live questions. We've got 15 or 20 minutes left. Let me see what I may have missed on Instagram, and then I will look at YouTube where I know that I have some questions. Thank you, JC. I'm glad that the reminder feature in the stories helps with reminding when the spirit chats are. Praj 1979 says, "Oh no, I think it's just an illusion that people have, that it's easy to learn the tarot and learn how to do crystal and Reiki just immediately after practicing a few times. I've been practicing for 5 years." Yeah, for sure. And with magic, it's the same thing, with spell casting or any kind of magic or any kind of healing work, same thing. But people have misconceptions about all kinds of things, right? It's not just this career. It's not just this life path. People are also offended when they've been musicians for 20 years and they've been plugging away, working really hard on a specific vision that they have to express themselves musically from their personal perspective. And then somebody says, "Oh, that looks cool. I think I'll pick up the guitar and start a band." And they book a show for like next month. And you're like, "Wait, I've been doing this my whole life. But not been established as a professional. It takes a lot of time and dedication." Yeah, that's right, Praj. Is it necessary to have cake and wine or bread always to offer to certain deities or spirits? It really depends on the deity or spirit. It depends on what they prefer. Generally speaking, I don't find that necessary. There are certain spirits that I might work with that it would be necessary to have specific things for. Just from my personal experience, I would never work with Saint Expedite without offering him pound cake. That being said, we are in a time of emergency. We're in a time of scarcity. The spirits are going to understand that, especially if we communicate it to them and we tell them, "Look, I'm sorry, I can't get your normal offerings right now. Here is the next best thing. Here is what I have to offer, and I'm offering it to you with sincerity, with dedication, with loyalty and respect. Please accept this," right? Recently, I worked with Saint Expedite. I couldn't get pound cake. I couldn't get red wine. I couldn't get the things that I normally get. I gave him coffee and I gave him red apples because he likes red. I couldn't get him any flowers, which I would usually get him. So you can make substitutions and you can use your intuition and you can use your connection and your communication with spirit in order to make those substitutions. And yeah, I don't think that it's necessary to have cake and wine or bread. There's lots of things. What I would consider to be absolutely necessary, let's get down to basics. Absolutely necessary: water and white candles, or incense smoke and black coffee, right? Lots of new faces. Thank you for being here. I'm happy to see you. Okay. What is happening on YouTube? Busy Bee Alchemy says, "I think that's the thing that people miss. This is your career, a career, not a hobby." Yeah, exactly. And you experience that kind of misconception with all kinds of people, right? Like there are plenty of people in my personal life or even in my family that think that I don't have a real job, that think that what I'm doing is just a hobby, or that what I'm doing is just for fun, or that my husband must be supporting me, or that I don't work. I just stay home. People have asked me, "So you don't really work anymore. You just stay home, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I stay home and I work like 14 hours a day. So thanks." And that's just the business side of it, right? That's not even the spiritual side of it. That's not even like counting all of the work that I've put in there and that I continue to put in there. It's a lifestyle. So the person who is asking about channeling services and the cost of those services, you can email me. I accept inquiries and booking requests via email. I offer a lot of different readings at different price ranges. So we need to talk about exactly what you need, and then I can give you price estimation. I'm glad that you like the tip about clairaudience, Busy Bee. And for those of you who missed it earlier, we were talking about book recommendations for developing clairaudience and developing different kinds of psychic abilities. And I often talk about book recommendations in these live sessions, but also I have recently compiled a bunch of free resources, especially they're organized on Instagram. There's a lot of them on Facebook and on my website. They're all over the place, but I've compiled them all and organized them on Instagram so that when you click the link in my bio, there are many different categories, and some of those categories will take you to free resources. I have book recommendations. I have a list of book recommendations. Also, in my highlights on Instagram, I have organized a bunch of free resources, and one of those are book recommendations. So there are 2 ways that you can see many more book recommendations from me, as well as many past YouTube videos that I have done that have book recommendations. So there's some places where you can look for further book recommendations. So I think that if you were listening to what we were saying earlier, Naveed, you're asking, how can I test which Claire skill is the most dominant? I think if you were listening to what I was saying earlier about really tuning into your intuition, being mindful with your thoughts, being mindful and embodied and in the present moment with your emotions, your physical sensations, and your thoughts, and then paying attention when your intuition arises, that's how you will know what Claire's skill is the most dominant. That's how you will begin to get in tune with that for yourself. Also, I have a free course coming up, my Mystic course, that gets you in tune with your intuition and teaches you how to delve deeper into your psychic abilities. It teaches you what your intuition is, and it leads you into developing and strengthening your specific psychic gifts. That's a free course, and it's going to be coming out via my newsletter. So if you're signed up for my newsletter, you'll have an opportunity to receive this free course. There's a link to sign up. It says monthly mystic messages. There's a link to sign up underneath the YouTube videos, and there's a link to sign up in the Instagram bio. No. So the question is, does all of my chakras need to be open to channel? For example, throat chakra for clairaudience? No. So like we were talking about earlier, the chakras are an energy system. It's not like you clear them or you cleanse them or you align them and then they're forever cleared, cleansed, or aligned, right? There's something that fluctuates day by day, moment by moment, just like your health fluctuates, just like your emotional state or your psychological state fluctuates. There's something that needs maintenance. They're never going to be perfect. They're always going to fluctuate, and they don't have to be perfect in order for you to develop your other abilities or develop your psychic abilities. Now, does it help? Yes, absolutely, it helps. And in fact, when I coach people one-on-one or I teach people one-on-one how to develop their specific psychic abilities, one of the meditations that I recommend is a chakra cleansing every day before going through other kinds of meditations and focusing specifically on the psychic ability that you want to develop. So it certainly helps. I'll look again at Instagram questions in a moment. I'm just addressing YouTube at this moment. Actually, I better do Instagram now because we might run out of time on Instagram soon. Let's see what else is here. I've covered everything else. So I apologize for this random question. You don't have to address it. Can you explain what is the gift of true sight? I've heard it many times in my life, and I'm not sure entirely what it means. So that's one of those blanket statements that people may use to apply to any kind of psychic ability or the ability to see or communicate with spirits. Another one of those old school blanket terms that you might hear is that somebody is a sensitive, right? So it means that you're sensitive to unseen energies, or you're sensitive to the world beyond the veil. You know, you're sensitive to the other world, right? Or you're sensitive to the dead. It's a blanket statement. But another way of looking at true sight, like some people will use the term true sight as a blanket statement, and some people will use the term true sight to apply to clairvoyance, meaning the psychic ability where you see visions. Definitely. So Kimberly is asking, would a business in self-care products be a good entry point to a healing career while gaining experience and wisdom? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That'd also be a really smart business move because it's a business that you can transition and pivot later on, especially if your self-care products apply to the spiritual aspect of things in the beginning, right? And you start sharing your information about the spiritual side of things in conjunction with your self-care products. I think that that's a smart move in many, many different ways. It's a smart move because it allows you growth. It's a smart move because it's a business that you can pivot. And I think that's a great idea. You're welcome, California Kate. You're welcome. I've heard that when you hear spirit, it's the same voice as if you were generating your own thoughts and not an external voice that may sound differently. Yeah. So they're asking, can you explain what it's like when you hear them? So some people will hear it as your own thoughts. It doesn't come from it. Sometimes it can come from outside of you. Sometimes when you have clairaudience, it does come from outside of you or seem to come from outside of you. So there's a few different ways that you can experience clairaudience. However, most often when you're communing with your spirits or you're seeking spiritual guidance and you receive the messages, it does come from inside of your own head in the same way that your thoughts come. But from my experience, it doesn't have the same quality. So when you hi, Raquel Vanessa, nice to see you. Hi, Make Way for Spirits. So when you really pay attention to what this guidance sounds like to you or what it feels like to you, it will have a different kind of quality. It will feel different than your normal everyday thoughts, or it will seem as if it comes from a different part of your head. For example, my everyday thoughts to me feel as if they come from more this part of my head, whereas the guidance that I receive inside of my mind from spirits or from ancestors, for example, feels as if it comes from the back of my head, the back left-hand side of my head. And they have a different feeling as well. So this is why I talk so much about being mindful about things like your thoughts and your feelings, because when you're really mindful and you pay attention, you're going to pick up on these subtleties that allow you to distinguish the differences in these kinds of things. If you pay attention, you'll begin to notice that your clairaudient guidance or your clairaudient messages have a different kind of feeling and feel as if they come from a different place in your head. Yeah, that's another symptom of clairaudience, Victoria, or another experience that clairaudient people have is that you will hear messages through music and you'll hear messages through the world around you. You will even receive messages in snippets of conversations from other people, like conversations that you're not privy to. Or, people passing by you will say something that you need to hear. These are other experiences that clairaudient people commonly have. I very often, one of the ways that my clairaudient messages come to me, and it sounds like if you haven't experienced it, hi, Mats, if you haven't experienced it, then it may sound like it doesn't make sense, but there have been very, very many times that clairaudient messages have come to me through something on the radio. So we only have 1 minute and 43 seconds remaining on Instagram. So I'm going to be logging off on Instagram and then I'm going to finish up with these questions on YouTube. Raquel Vanessa, I don't have time to answer that question right now. It's a really big question. What I recommend to you, your question is, how do you know your ancestors are around you? What I recommend to you is, first of all, your ancestors are around you. They're around everyone. But what I recommend is that you go to my YouTube channel and you watch my series on developing your relationship with your ancestors from scratch as a beginner from a universalist perspective. You can apply this to any belief system, any religion. It doesn't matter what you believe or what you practice. This is a system you can use for developing your relationship with your ancestors. It's going to answer many of your questions. My YouTube channel is linked in my Instagram bio. Yeah, messages can definitely come to you from reading things. I love that, Joanna. Thank you for bringing that up. That's something that can come to all kinds of people. I have to log off now. There's only a few seconds remaining. Thanks so much for being with me, everyone, on Instagram. Much love to you. Many, many blessings. I love your questions. Thank you for your amazing conversation. Nice to see you. Please be well. Be blessed. Talk soon. Bye-bye. 1 second, YouTube, and I will be right back with you. Okay, so what are the questions here that haven't been answered yet? How would I know if I have astral blockages that prevents my clairs from working? So the way that I view an astral blockage would be the same way that I view an energetic blockage. If you have an energetic blockage, it's showing up in your energy wherever that energy may be, right? It can show up on multiple levels, including physically or in your aura or in your connection to spirit or in your connection to the universe, right? I think that's kind of what you would call an astral blockage. It's the aspect of your energy that connects you to other realms or higher realms. The way that you would ascertain that is through a reading from somebody. If you need somebody to look at your energy, to see your energy, then you would want to get a reading with somebody who is clairvoyant so they can look at your energy and determine what that blockage is. But there's lots of other kinds of readings that can determine if you have a blockage as well. And it from my experience and in my opinion, it doesn't really matter what. The thing is, if it's on the astral realm, it's going to show up in other areas too. So you don't have to only look there. It's all connected, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So clearing it energetically is going to clear it everywhere, right? So that's just something for you to kind of contemplate and keep in mind so that you can have a different perspective of how to approach this. Get a reading if you think that you have a blockage. Is it true that it's extremely rare to actually see a spirit as detailed like a person that is right in front of you? Yeah. Will you have to be truly gifted in order to see that detail? Absolutely. So just like we've been talking about here, only people who are highly clairvoyant and also highly connected to the spirit world are going to see spirits in that way. When I see a spirit, they are like a cloudy, fuzzy glob. There you can see, like, sometimes I can see that it's a person. I can see the outline of them, and sometimes I even see their features or get glimpses of their features. So I can tell, at the very least, I can tell that it's in the shape of a person, but most often it's fuzzy, it's cloudy. Sometimes it looks like light. Sometimes it looks like fog, but it's not like light floating across the wall. It's like a light shaped like a person coming through the house, right? So like you can tell the difference, but it's very rare to see them fully as a person fully formed. And that doesn't just have to do with your gifts as a clairvoyant or your gifts as someone connected to the spirit world either. It also has to do with the spirit themselves. Not all of them are able to fully manifest in physical form, right? So it depends on a lot of different circumstances, and it depends on how your gifts work for you. You're welcome, Kimberly. I'm not sure of your last question. What does a subliminal do in terms of enhancing abilities of the clairs? Does it have to do with the subconscious? Yeah, anything subliminal has to do with the subconscious mind, but I'm not really sure about the rest of your question. You'll have to clarify that or be a little bit more specific or ask in a different way. Can you connect to spirits even though you are at a low vibration? How do you know if you are at a high or low vibration? You can connect to spirits if you're in a low vibration. You will most likely connect to low vibrational spirits. You will connect to lower level spirits, meaning spirits who are not very evolved, spirits who, that's the best way I can put it, spirits who are not spiritually evolved. You know that you're at a low level of vibration when you feel stuck, and when you feel blocked, and when you're only able to connect with things that are at a low vibration, like negative or unwanted energies, right? When you begin to develop a spiritual practice, you get in tune with your energy and you get in tune with your spiritual connection, and you can tell when it's blocked or stagnant, or when you're like stuck at a level that is aligning with something that is negative or aligning with something that is unwanted. But as a human, like, we're never going to be totally so evolved unless we're a Buddha, like the Buddha or something, you know. We're never going to be so evolved that we're always vibrating at this high level. That's just not realistic. We're always going to fluctuate. That's why we keep talking here about the fact that these things take maintenance. Excuse me. These things take maintenance and consistency and dedication, because we're humans. We're going to be exposed to things every day that are going to change our energy and change our emotional state and change our mindset. It's not realistic to think that we can get to an evolved state where we're transcending the material plane and we're vibrating only at a high level all the time. This is something that takes consistent work and consistent practice. We're put here in order to live in a material body, in order to be physically manifest in a material body on a material plane. So it's okay to focus on evolving spiritually as part of our human spiritual evolution, but it's not realistic to be constantly focused, to have the goal of transcending our material life. We're supposed to be humans right now, so we're not going to transcend our material human life, right? I'm going to call it quits for today. Thank you for all of your input. Thank you for all of your questions. Your questions are getting too in depth. I can't teach you everything in a live session. So I recommend that you do some studying on your own. I recommend that you do some further research on your own. And I recommend that you get in touch with me, since you asked earlier about doing so. I won't be able to teach you everything and anything about developing your clairvoyance or developing your clairs or developing your psychic abilities, changing your energy, connecting to spirits, and all of these things in a live session. This is meant for really specific answers to help you get started in your journey and to help you along your journey of progress. So the things that are offered here are meant to complement the learning and the practice that you're already putting in. So I think with some of the things that we've discussed today, you can take that and you can do some further research and you can do some further practice. And then you can come back when you have specific questions about that practice that you're putting in, about that research that you're doing, about the experiences that you're having. Good. I'm glad that you learned a lot. My allergies are really acting up because it's been very wet, very rainy. So there's a lot of mold and mildew, which I'm allergic to. So that's why I'm having problems with my voice today. Thank you so much, everybody. I am so happy that you were here today. I really enjoyed your questions. This was a great conversation. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for bringing your interesting questions. Thank you for your support. Much love to all of you. I wish you good health. I wish you many blessings, and I look forward to seeing you next Spirit Chat. Please be well. Take good care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.